Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. It's been a huge week for crypto. Bitcoin and their large cap coins have remained relatively range bound, but some altcoins have had big moves. That's what we'd love to see, some projects we've followed closely since the start. But to start off with, I just want to tick through a big announcement. So we've partnered with Mickey.com.au. They're a group of independent journalists who do some great articles, and written content is probably the only front we haven't conquered yet with our podcasts, our videos. We're very active on Twitter and Facebook and so on. So if you're an independent journalist that wants to write good content, get in touch with us, guys. We'll be happy to promote good stuff through our network, and we're getting a lot of traffic through nuggetsnews.com.au now. So congrats to the Mickey guys. Keep an eye out for more articles from us. On this day in crypto history, so it was only last year that Australia ended double taxation of Bitcoin, and a lot of countries are still trying to put that square peg through a round hole. They're not sure how to classify Bitcoin as an asset. A couple of years ago, the ACCC investigated a lot of the banks closing companies, anyone that was dealing with crypto accounts or traders, for no reason, anti-competitive behavior, but nothing really came of that. And as you've heard me say, I think the war with the bank is just sort of getting started. This is going to be a very long chapter. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Bitcoin completed its deepest correction from $30 to $2. So yes, a lot of altcoins are down 90%, but this was the most painful correction for Bitcoin. Well over 90%, and everyone thought you were crazy at the time, particularly if you're buying the dip and so on. But Bitcoin's a volatile asset. It does have these big ups and downs. In 2008, Satoshi was putting the finishing touches on his white paper. We didn't know that. It was about to be released, and I'm going to talk about that more in the coming weeks. Thanks to everyone that came to our security tokens event. I have done a wrap up of our entire Melbourne trip and all the projects we met up with, if you haven't checked that out already. And we'll be coming to Sydney and maybe even Brisbane, because this was just such a fantastic event with great sponsors and so on. Security tokens are the future, and we'll continue to bring the best projects to you guys. One of the things we did in Melbourne at the workshop with Gary V and so on was hear a few of these speakers, and they're talking about the US. And one of the things I wasn't aware of was that 50 cents of every dollar spent in the US is captured by Amazon. So Australian retail's obviously scared, and a lot of the share prices have taken a hit. But those tech giants have just got such power these days, and a lot of money has poured into them. Now, there's always these stories about people turning away from the US, that hegemony, that supremacy that they have. I tweeted that this isn't going to happen overnight, and a lot of people are expecting that Mad Max event or stock market crash, and there's people that will tell you it's going to happen next year. You know, they've been saying that every year for 10 years now, but it's not going to happen overnight. I believe the next crash or correction is going to be very gradual as all these inflated assets unwind with rising interest rates and so on, and people pay down debt. So we're already seeing a move away from the US dollar. Venezuela using euros now for international trade. All these transactions, whether it's dealing with oil, gold, stock, or just fiat currency, they require you to go into US dollars as that reference point. And these countries are trying to move away from that. So China and Japan dumping bonds. Hungary stuns this week, announcing that their gold reserves have jumped 10x. So these are all people that are looking for anti-US dollar assets, and I'll continue to talk about this going forward. So the Nasdaq is comprised of 3,000 different stocks, and this has had big money flow out of it. So the market cap here is above $10 trillion, and it's down now over 10% from its recent highs. So over $1 trillion of money has been pulled out. Now, money doesn't die and go to money heaven. Money is looking for a home, and you've heard me say this a lot. I'll continue to drill these messages into you guys. Imagine what $1 trillion can do. These are people that have invested in technology, so they're open-minded to cryptocurrency and these projects. What asset class is currently down between 70 and 90% compared to the Nasdaq that's at record highs, guys? Try and think about how you would think if you're a fund manager or a tech stock investor. And it's no surprise to me that a few of these smaller projects we're going to get to have started to see big jumps in valuation. Houses as well, money coming out of that inflated market. Is a house only worth what a bank will lend you? I've made videos about that, especially the Ask Nugget show, that episode I did about rising interest rates and how it affects valuations of things. So Australia's obviously going through a bit of a housing dip at the moment. Vancouver, 43% down in some regions. We've seen it in the US as well this month. There's always it's different this time, but certainly a lot of people are carrying more debt and house prices are getting extended again. Money being pulled out of bond markets and ETF markets at a record pace. So it's interesting to see how this all is going to play out, guys, and have an idea of how all these different markets work. We spoke about the gold market normally acting as a safe haven and hadn't had a rally at the time, and we placed that trade. We sold some puts in the gold index, and that trade was 60% profit overnight by thinking about the macro. Well, money should flow into gold, and then it happened. So this is what education in the financial world is all about. Just some basic understanding. You can really get ahead of the game, because these fund managers often take 24 or 48 hours to reposition themselves and put funds elsewhere. They've got to sign off on the paperwork. So if you can be nimble as an investor and say, yeah, I think gold's going to move the next day and so on, those are the sort of conversations that we want to have, particularly in our members group. I know you guys love these headlines as much as me. So the biggest bank in the Nordic region saying that they won't list Bitcoin, they don't want to deal with it because the risk of money laundering, and then they get caught laundering records amounts of money. So a theme we're going to continue. Anytime someone tells you that Bitcoin's no good, point them towards these articles. The Gates Foundation, you guys know how I feel about that. Partnering with Ripple and Coil to support pro-poor payment systems. So I'll leave you to be the judge of whether or not you think this is a good thing. I think there's a lot of other coins trying to get out there in these developing countries to make a difference. And look, that's a great thing if we can impact their lives. I'm not sure if partnering with the Gates Foundation is going to be the driver of that, though. So we've seen Bitcoin Cash really come out and say that they are trying to make a difference in these countries, but I guess it's all cryptocurrency. Dash has made an effort and so on, and emerging markets have already seen sharp growth. So you've heard me talk about the ETF and how I'm so not fussed about how that plays out. Yes, I think that backed in an ETF would put up the price, but what's going to really cause Bitcoin to succeed over the next years and go up massively in price is adoption in all these regions. Things like M-Peso have taken off. So this is a payment service operator in Africa where you can send money to each other, and there's 2 million people without a bank, and 90% of those now have a mobile phone. That's the stat I want you guys to remember. These people are already playing around with this remittance app where you can send money through text messages and so on. It's still got these centralized points of failure and friction where cryptocurrency can erase that. So I very much see this happening in the next 2 years, that cryptocurrency are going to really gain traction in these countries. It's already at record volumes on localbitcoins.com. It's already happening, but it's really going to take off in these African countries and other developing nations. Into the good altcoin news. So PivX, I've been a big fan of these guys. You can stake coins and earn rewards privately. And now they've developed the Zdex, they're calling it, their version of a decentralized exchange. So if this has PivX pairs, for example, again, that's going to put upwards pressure on the PivX price. Personally, I think privacy coins are an interesting one. Very much a risk if governments crack down on them, but at the same point, that's going to cause fear in investors. But at the same token, you can't stop that. If it's truly decentralized, you can't stop privacy coins, guys. And the communities are very much behind these projects. Speaking of privacy coins, what a fantastic upgrade for Monero. They've implemented bulletproofs. What this does in a nutshell is condense the transaction size. There's therefore less for the network to process, and that's reduced fees by between 60 and 90%, I'm hearing. So private transactions that used to take extra computation could cost, say, 60 cents. They're now costing 2 cents or less. So that's awesome for Monero. It hasn't really jumped in price yet, and it's these situations that I'm telling my community that I don't think this is priced in yet. The market hasn't digested this news, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Monero have a big week this week. Kenya, one of the projects I met in Melbourne, and really impressed with how they're going along. Any of these projects that have a working product are going to start to pull away from the pack. I think I read this week that 70% of projects in crypto or ICOs don't have any form of working product. So these ones that do are going to start to outperform. And as I tweeted this week, well done to BlockGrain. There is a rebranding on the way. I won't spoil that too much, guys. They've had a lot of interest from a number of sectors, so they don't want to confine themselves just to grain. That working app is out now on Android and iOS. And as I said, 70% of projects without a working product and 60% in the top 100 without a working product. So hopefully these ones start to gain traction. Always lovely to get a tweet from CZ. And as I said, Binance, just like PivX, whoever has these decentralized exchanges working, and if Binance is used as gas, I told my members a price target for BNB, and I just think this one is huge. I'm accumulating this one under $10. Nano, another favorite one of you guys that has a lot of issues, but if it can fix it in these upgrades, which is happening today, this is going to improve transaction speed. It still should be relatively instant with low fees, but they have had congestion issues on the network, so that upgrade's hoping to fix all that. And Nano is one that, if it fixes out all those issues, there's a huge case to why wouldn't you use it if it's near instant and near zero fee. So keep an eye on Nano. Amazon Web Services partner up with Qtum. This is another project which is maybe a little bit boring, and when I say that, I don't mean it in a bad way. These projects that are just really hard workers behind the scenes. Qtum is a mix of Bitcoin proof of work and Ethereum smart contracts, partnering up with Amazon Web Services in China. That's pretty huge, guys. And that use case, if it's going on in the background, we know real world use case is what results in price action and adoption. Dydx. This is one that I've been following from the very start. I haven't seen any other YouTubers talking about this, and I'm going to make a video about it very soon. Decentralized derivatives, a $10 million investment from A16Z, and these are the same guys that invested very early in Maker, another coin that I think I was the first to cover that's still up over 1,000% since we first spoke about it on the channel. Okay, so some of the good news this week: BAT token upgrading their browser. I made the switch, guys. This is fast, and now it's faster. A rally because of that upgrade, and again, I said to members, this isn't priced in at the time, and after I posted that, I think it jumped about 25%. So understanding the news, understanding the projects that you've done research on, keep a finger on the pulse. There is opportunities in trading and investing money to be made, even though Bitcoin and large caps are range bound. So this is another coin that people think may be listed on Coinbase, and I certainly think it's one of the leaders. So Coinbase have come out and said about 5 coins, Cardano, Zcash, Stellar, but BAT is certainly up there as one of the most likely that started to get priced in by the market this week. So 0x was the coin that got listed. It was certainly one of the ones that we were expecting to be listed. We followed this one very early for you guys. There's a couple that aren't being talked about that I think are a big chance to be listed on Coinbase. So watch for volume. I know there's some API bots out there that picked up which coin was going to get listed early. They're what we're looking for trading opportunities. Power Ledger winning the Extreme Tech Challenge. Richard Branson is a big name, so this is going to be all over the news this week in the mainstream media, which is very exciting for Power Ledger. It's good exposure. It's good for them being put through the incubator and getting more funding. What a story to love. And this was one that was hated on at the time, and you're shilling this and that. So it's just great to see good project, good team, experience in the industry, kicking goals. So well done, Power Ledger. Thailand. So this is one of the first unicorns to come out of Thailand. So Amisago, I'm a huge fan of these guys, as you know, and again, they received some funding this week. So Amise is the company behind it. they're working closely with the Ethereum developers. There's already projects that are looking to build once they have that Amigo Plasma chain up and running, so you can have blockchains within blockchains. Electrify Asia is one of those projects that also had a big week, so I just love it when we see these projects winning awards and getting funding, and they're the ones that we've done fundamental analysis on and that I'm a true believer in, even though they're down 90%, just like every other coin and like the entire market, guys. Rubber is going to hit the road. They're going to diverge away. They're not just going to keep bottom bouncing and go down with all the other altcoins if they're doing good things. So just be patient, guys. This is some tough times for a few projects, I guess is the way to say it. So EOS has had issues with RAM. They're now having some issues with CPU usage and bandwidth. So I guess I just want you guys to remember that this is all experimental technology. So it's not just EOS. I'm not picking on them. I'm going to talk about Cardano this week. And check out this video with my mate Crypto Lark talking about the issues they had with the Cardano Foundation as well. Ethereum had issues this week trying to do that Constantinople hard fork on the Rompsten testnet. So yeah, as I said, cutting edge, bleeding edge technology, it's going to have issues. These things take time. All these major projects are behind schedule. And when price is down, everyone's bored, the excitement's gone. That's when they're knuckling down and doing work. And I'd rather them get it right the first time, take their time. And this is all just setting up for when the market turns, they start to put out announcements and upgrades. It's just going to drive that next wave, guys. And I'm just so excited. It's getting closer. Ethereum was number 5 on the list of fastest growing open source projects on GitHub. So you've heard me say that they do have a head start. There's, numbers floating around. There's 250,000 developers working on Ethereum based projects now and getting sort of mainstream traction. Obviously not up there in terms of Microsoft and whatnot, but yeah, this is a huge open source project now, guys, that a lot of people are working on. DevCon is only 10 days away now, and DevCon traditionally has seen the release of some pretty good news and at least mainstream awareness, traction. There's going to be news articles, thousands of speakers are all applying to get there and whatnot. So it doesn't mean that there's going to be a huge pump. It did get priced in a little bit last year, but I think at the moment we're in that bear market compared to this time last year when we were in the bull market. So this is when we can get those little pockets of good news, excitement. There's one theory going out there. We're going to hear about why there's been 70,000 acres of land bought out in Nevada for a big Ethereum development Web3 community or mining facility. So yeah, we might not have heard anything by this time next week as it is 10 days away, but certainly keep an eye on those headlines to come out of DevCon. Bitconnect Lawsuit. Look, this is a good thing, guys. I know that they're trying to drag everyone into this, but how many times did we say last year, USI Tech is a scam, Bitconnect's a scam, and people were saying, no, you're wrong, they're paying us out, can't be a scam because they're paying me out, they're paying my friends out. So hopefully when the next round comes, you guys will be educating your friends about these pyramid schemes. Japanese government were the first to really move in early 2017 and say, yes, we're adopting cryptocurrency as legal tender. That really sparked off the bull run in early 2017. And great to see them being open-minded and simplifying crypto tax, because anyone in Australia or even the US will tell you how ridiculously complicated it is. And there's not a lot of software out there. Now, we're working closely with Crypto Tax Australia. There's another about 10 days left, guys, to file your tax unless you've registered with an accountant, and then you get that extension as well for businesses and so on. So, yeah, get on nuggetsnews.com.au, go to our partners page. We are working out some sort of deal for Australians that have got to file their tax with the trusted crypto advisors and accountants. Tether lost its peg. That was probably the really big news this week, and I'm not going to dive into any detail. I did a huge video about that, guys. It did lose its peg. A lot of these exchanges came out and said, look, we're going to list all the other stable coins. This is the chart that we should all be aware of, though. It's not actually Bitfinex that holds a lot of Tether. Look at these other exchanges. Bitfinex is actually one of the lowest holders in terms of their Tether treasury. So Binance is the biggest there other than Tether itself. So you guys know my theory that yes, they're not perfect, but I believe a lot of those issues are coming from banks and friction with the traditional finance system. I think Make or Die is going to be the king of stablecoins going forward. That's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Some big videos this week, guys. Artificial intelligence. Plenty of you signed up for that free trial. If you do use that code, I think we're going to get an extension to 4-week free trial for you guys there. So no harm in trying that out. Check out the link in the description of that video. Let's dive into some of the biggest news of the week, and that was Fidelity coming out. $7 trillion of assets under management. These are the people that are just gradually, sneakily getting in. They don't want to tell you to buy now. It's just all these little hidden in the corners of these little crypto websites. And when the mainstream managers are happy with how much they've accumulated or so on, when the bottom's in, that's when all those headlines will start to come out and really pump that next wave. So if you think crypto's dead, if you think these biggest fund managers in the world with all this experience, if you think they're getting into Bitcoin and crypto because it's dead or it's going nowhere, then I think you're crazy. On to the technicals, guys. Bitcoin's been pretty range bound again. Look, we're still in this tightening weekly pattern. Look, $150 has been about the range this week. I think a close above, where are we here? Around 67.50. It's going to come into play at around this longer term log downtrend that a lot of people are looking at. And then we've just got that 200-day moving average and this long term, the weekly equilibrium pattern at around sort of 7.4 there, guys. So I don't want to talk too much about technicals. Yes, we had that breakthrough there. That was on Bitfinex, on the Tether sort of rumors and news. That doesn't really count as a break. And one of those scenarios I've been talking about is the fake out, where we get the break to the upside, and that triggers all the orders. People try to trade this breakout, and it's a fake out, and you get liquidated. And if nothing bad happens, guys, the fact is that this descending triangle is a bearish pattern. So if nothing happens and we get right to the end of this, I think we could even break down. And as I've said before, that's the buying opportunity when everyone's going to be saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe that didn't hold. I've been holding forever. I've been waiting for this to break out. And just when everyone's giving up, that might be the perfect time to be trading. So trading, buying, volume, volatility back in the market. That's what we're looking forward to. But let's have a look at a few of the coins that had really good weeks. So someone asked me, should you sell 0x when it pumps? And if you're a trader, sorry guys, get that on auto. If you're a trader and you're at the screen and something like this jumps huge and it's probably overextended on the 4 hour and the hour, yes, if you're a good trader and you know how to short or take profits, that's great. As soon as Coinbase added this, Bitfinex enabled margin trading. So if you can make money on the way down as well as taking the investor mindset, and this is a good project, I want to buy it back long term, this is where you can be making money. And I know, personally, traders in the group have had their best month or two lately, versus if you don't know how to trade, you're just sort of sitting on your hands and waiting for it to go up. So I'd encourage everyone to learn those skills, learn trading, because this week we had, PivX and Walton Chain and INS World, was listed on Bithumb. Walton Chain added to Bitfinex, 0x, BAT, as I spoke about. Still going here since I spoke about this one for members. But this is great to see, guys. Good coins, strong fundamentals, starting to move away from the pack while Bitcoin remains relatively range bound. Last thing I want you to think about is how centralized is your life or the apps you're using. YouTube went down and everyone was in a panic. It's a subsidiary of Google. What happens if Google goes down? What happens if Facebook goes down? It's great to think about these things, because even though this was only down for an hour or two, people kind of went a little bit crazy. Where's all this content? Do you have your content backed up? Is it in cyber limbo? So have a think about that, guys. Very exciting times ahead. I know I keep saying this, but that tightening range is going to break. Whether it's to the downside or upside, there's going to be trading opportunity. And if you can accumulate more of your good quality projects, if they get dragged down with Bitcoin, I think we're just getting closer and closer to that bull run. and it's going to catch people by surprise. If you're still watching these videos, guys, you're obviously interested in crypto, even though a lot of people are just saying Bitcoin's boring, even though it is above $6,000. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and thanks for tuning in. Cheers.